Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television, and we're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. We'll start our conversation this morning, and we're going to be focusing on the agriculture sector. As I said when I started the program earlier on, we're going to be looking at issues surrounding the extension in the commercial agriculture credit scheme by the CBN from 2016 to 2025. Actually, that scheme has been in place since 2009. And so with the extension, it should be good news for the farmers. But I have two farmers here with me in the studio to actually talk about this, if it's good news for them, or if we really should, look closer at this extension and, talk better on how best we can handle this extension. I'm being joined by African Farmer Mortgagee. He's to my far left. He's an agric information broker and consultant. And also to my immediate left is Mr. Wale Oyekoya. He's the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, Bama Farms. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for coming in.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, we should be excited, at least farmers. I'm not a farmer. I wish I was, because, now more than ever, it seems so much attention is being paid to that sector. And we're seeing, good developments coming from that sector. But with this extension, 200 billion naira commercial agricultural credit scheme, farmers should be excited.
Are you asking me?
You're a farmer. You should tell me.
The question I should ask first, is the money still available?
Which money are we talking about?
The 200 billion naira credit
which was
scheme.
Actually from 2009.
From 2009. It was actually 2009 that they started it. I was in two commercial banks, First Bank and UBA. It was there for 2 years, just floating, until farmers and stakeholders started reacting that, wait a minute, there's 200 billion naira that was floated by the Department of the DMO. That, where is the money? So they started saying, okay, all commercial banks could tap into it, but as of today, and convincingly, I can tell you that the money has been exhausted. Over 199.6 billion have been exhausted. So I don't know the purpose of extending the money, because the money is not being revolved. Initially, I said this money is supposed to be like a revolving loan, so that other people that have not been benefited should be able to do it.
So in other words, when you actually, it's not a loan, it's
like a loan but on a single-digit interest rate.
So if you take the loan, which means you pay back.
Definitely.
But have people been paying back? So I'm guessing that that's the reason for the extension, that on all the payback loans, the CBN or whoever it is that is disbursing this money should be able to fund other farmers who need the funds.
Well, I think the problem is that the money has always been the case with the government. I think most of the money have gone to the wrong hands. And to really recap the money is the issue. And most people that got the money have not been able to pay back for one reason or the other, or because of the production problem we are having in this country. Because when you give the money, if you can remember, I'm a beneficiary to the loan.
So have you paid it back?
Yes, we started paying. But there's always a problem with it, especially with the cost of productions and the importation. We have been competing with the foreign foods, which cost of production is extremely low compared to what we are producing here. So we're having a whole lot of challenges. A whole lot. Because any crop you're talking about is being imported to this country. So, okay. They have used this country to dumping ground. So the farmers are really finding a problem to pay back this loan. And some people that have not even got the loan, they find it harder to get this money. The money is not easy to tap into. Because I remember when they started, they said you must have asset debenture of almost about 350 million naira in your farm before you could be able to benefit from it. So my question there was, how many farmers are able to get an equity or asset of 350 million naira in the farm before they could tap into the loan? So to me, it's like they are targeting people that are not even supposed to be in the farm in the first instance.
Mr. Oyekoya, now let me just, take you up on that,
Yes.
fact that you said you were actually one of the beneficiaries before we actually go to the criteria that was set for you as a farmer to be able to get this loan. You've taken the loan, and it's been what, over 4 years, thereabouts,
4 years.
Since you took the loan. When you were taking the loan, I'm sure you were given a timeline for which to return it.
Yes.
And penalties were actually also stated that for failure to return this loan at the stipulated time, you might not qualify for another one, or they might totally just cut you off from even ever taking loans from this facility anymore.
Definitely.
So the fact that you have actually, well, you've not defaulted, but you've not in this times, or how, okay, first of all, let me even guess, how many years were you giving?
It was for 5 years then.
So it's not up to 5 years yet?
No, it's not up to 5. It's expired in 2016.
2016.
Yes.
But it is important that other people access these funds.
Yes.
Other farmers, like African farmer, for instance,
Yes.
or even smaller farmers than either of you. So the fact that you have not fully paid back this
Yes.
loan,
Yes.
don't you think it's also affecting how, how long this scheme should actually run? It's also affecting, it probably would affect the extension, because you're not the only farmer who actually took a loan from the scheme.
You have to understand that the loan is not meant for the small farmers, according to the way they graded it. So, yes, it's not meant for and he's going to testify to what I'm saying. If they say you must have an asset of almost 350 million naira in your farm before you could be entitled to it. So how many farmers in Nigeria have an equity in their farm of up to 350 million naira? And the loan that was given to me wasn't that it was like a platter of gold. I know what I went through before I could even tap into it. But it's just a bit. I was trying my best to make sure that most of the small farmers benefited. And as I say, 80% of farmers we have in this country are from rural areas, including women. But these people have been taken off from this thing. Because the minimum I could remember is about 150, that you must have a 150 million naira asset. Yeah. And you must have a collateral somewhere that is not in the farm.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
now,
it's a very big issue.
Mr. Mogaji, let me come to you on that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you were also part of the, beneficiaries to this scheme,
No.
but you're also a farmer who desperately also needs funds, just like other small-scale farmers. Now, based on what Mr. Oyekoya has said, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the scheme giving funds, making it available to farmers is actually a good idea. But what I think was wrong with that scheme was they focused too much on the already made oil people, not farmers. And the money was supposed to be, say, have 3 categories. The local farmers should be able to access the medium scale and the commercial scale. But they focused at the commercial scale. And even the farmers operating at the commercial scale did not have the collateral. I remember then, one of the criteria was that your land was not even a criteria, was not a collateral.
It was excluded.
So if you have all the infrastructure and on the land was not part of it. So how do you measure up? So the original design of the funds was not meant to come to the real players. The real players got a hold of the money after like 2-3 years after the scheme began. So it was floating in 2 banks until it was broken down. And so at the end of the day, the goal actually was met because it was not meant for the real farmer. So when the real farmer has accessed it, there will come a challenge of paying back. Really, if you access loans from banks in Nigeria, you are likely to have a challenge paying back.
Why will you have a challenge paying back when, of course, you've used it to farm a particular product? For instance, the other day we were talking about cucumbers,
Yes.
or watermelons, as the case may, or even potatoes. Now, if you harvest, and your harvest mustn't maybe not necessarily be bountiful, you should have something to pay back your loan and also buy your seedlings and plow back into the farm.
Good.
It can't always totally be a losing situation all the time.
Yes, I agree. You see, something in agriculture that most people don't understand before they plunge into it is that you can put 100 million and not make 100,000. You will find the equipment, but every other thing, running cost is very high in agriculture. Now, what happens with this is, take for instance, government started this dry season support program in January. Now, if I tell you it was strictly for the north, while we have irrigation projects set up by government across the nation, but they gave it to the north. So now when they produced, everything, 80% of what is produced in the north ends up in Lagos, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, but mostly Lagos, Ibadan. And so they flood the market. So if you take a loan from a bank in the southwest and you produce, and all of a sudden, and you know the forecast, and all of a sudden, government wakes up and gives money to a part of the country to overproduce and dump in another location. Now, the person that took the loan actually had a good business plan, understood the system, the industry, the sector, and produced. Take, for instance, watermelon. In the last 1 month, we've been harvesting watermelon. Watermelon crashed from what you should sell, an 18-passenger bus that should be selling for 150,000, was sold for 55,000. We understand the industry, we know the forecast like stock, but somehow government intervention in January crashed it. So we had to be creative to move into formal places to sell. You know, so when the government is giving out funds, they don't sit down to get all stakeholders involved. So when you access the fund, take for instance what he's talking about. You access the fund and you are genuinely using it. But because they ban and unban, what happens is that people bring in products without all the certifications and crash the market. Let me just share this briefly. In 2002 in Ekiti State, government brought in some seeds and gave us all the benefits, and so we bought the seeds. Unfortunately, the seeds were researched on certified research seeds from a South African and South American company. So what happened was we grew the corn. It was big. We were all rejoicing. We did irrigation. We all went borrowing. But when you opened the corn in the leaves, the corn had already popped. That means that if you put it in water, had no value. If you roast it, had no value.
You already had ready-made popcorn.
Yes, already made popcorn. So we could not repay our loans. We had bumper harvest, we had the market, but we depended on the fact that government knew what they were doing. You know, so there are a lot of factors that come into play that does not make agriculture profitable to the Nigerian investor.
So now